I'm Elisa King. Okay, let's try it again. I forgot what was after that.
Hey guys, welcome back to Between Sessions. My name is Ebony Harris.
And I'm Elisa King, and we are two brown chicks changing the face of therapy on both sides
of the couch.
Of the couch.
You with this song, this tune that you keep adding to the intro.
It is the theme song. Both sides.
We just need to add a couch. We just need to add a theme song, so we just come in and be like, "Hey guys, this is what we're talking about today." We don't have to do like the intro.
True. 2021 goals. Let's do that.
Oh, okay. I was thinking 2022.
2022.
Welcome back. Thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Between Sessions. Last week we skipped a week. I feel like we need to start like warning people when we have weeks off.
Right.
Because I know some people do listen consistently, which we very much appreciate. But yeah, so we took a week off. I took a little break so that I can get into the new year correctly. As opposed to my first break that did not go as well as I wanted it to go. So yeah, we had a week off. So we're back, and actually it's interesting because today we're going to talk about burnout. And I read like a couple posts about it. It was specifically about therapist burnout, but we're going to talk about both. But I read a couple posts about it, and I was like, you know, I'm always in prevention mode when it comes to burnout. Like, I feel like I'm always in like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I make sure, you know, all of that. So I don't think I've ever experienced burnout. I've definitely had months when it's like overwhelming or I've had a lot going on, but I've never felt like I'm not doing this again, or I can't, you know, I haven't had that happen. But anyways, I was saying it's interesting because I just took a break from clients. I still was doing some work, but not like with clients. And so it made me come back feeling a little bit rejuvenated, even though this week is a lot, but I do feel way more like, all right, let's go. Like, I feel great, and let's just do this quarterly so that I can come back with the same attitude every 3 months. But anyways, so we're gonna talk about burnout for just, you know, clients or regular people, but also when it comes to being a therapist as well. We wanted to make sure we address both of them. So how do you define burnout?
I define burnout when I just have nothing left to give. Like, I'm tapped out. You're much better at setting boundaries than I am.
Kinda.
Sometimes I have definitely been there where it's like, what am I doing? We've talked about this. I've had years where it was just like going. And I think that happens a lot too when we've talked about this. When you're a creative, you'll have like so many ideas. And then you and I, when we met, we were both creating, rather, instead of creating, we were starting our private practices. We were creating Melanin and mental health shortly thereafter it. And so it was just like this constant going. And I know I hit a wall, right? And I think that's where burnout is. It's like you hit the wall. And I remember at the point of the end of 2019, I was just like, I don't have more. Things are just gonna have to be on hold. And when you get to burnout, that's when it's bad, because that's when your bandwidth and your window of tolerance for anything is just low. Like, don't ask me for anything.
Right.
Don't ask me for a thing, because I got nothing left.
Yeah, I feel like it's typically like I can't give anymore. Like, and I can't even give probably what I've been giving. It just feels like it's basically, and I think about this, we've talked about this before, like how your body kind of gives you signals of like, hey, you need to take care of you, or you need to take a break or something like that. And that's kind of what it turns into, where it's like your brain can't focus anymore. Emotionally, you can't take certain things, and you feel like you're snappy more often. Like, it's basically, I just can't keep going at the same pace. And sometimes we often try to push through it. Like you said, burnout is like the final step of it. It's kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna shut down. You know, my body's just gonna be like, all right, well, we're done. Because you've been pushing through these other symptoms or these other signs of like, hey, slow down, hey, you know. So definitely it's that just done. Like, you're just drained from whatever energy you may
because
have had.
you haven't
Go ahead.
right, like you've just been going and giving and doing, and you haven't had the opportunity to receive. And that's why right now we wanted to talk about it, because a lot of people are talking about it. I think I saw one of the articles. It was like, you know, the sort of the next thing we have to be aware of are the therapists that are close to burnout,
Mm-hmm.
because so many of them have been holding space. It's been such a unique time for therapists, in that we help people process their traumas, we help people process the tough times they go through. And it's the first time where it's like we're simultaneously going through that at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
as our clients,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to be there for them. So, and I think so many other people, I'm thinking about the healthcare workers. You think about those healthcare workers who day in and day out are just giving of themselves, giving of themselves, giving of themselves, and they don't even have the opportunity to replenish,
Yeah.
what it is that they're out.
Yeah. So it's definitely a time where just a lot of people may be struggling. It's definitely a
Hmm.
time where if 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 you felt like you don't have the privilege to stop, right? Because I think that's a big part of it as
Yeah.
well.
I mean, you think about the parents who are home with their kids, and who, if you got little ones, I've mentioned this before, my kids are teenagers, so they kind of go through the day on their own. But you think about, I could not imagine having like a kindergartner or a grade schooler who needs me to sit there with them. And, for those that are still doing, at home schooling for the kids. I mean, this last year in particular just asked for so much of so many of us employees. That was a common complaint that I was hearing a lot from friends and from clients. It's like I can't even I can't even say stop because I'm at home, and my employer thinks that because I'm at home I can, they can just kind of add
Mm-hmm.
all this, and people struggling with their own guilt. Well, I'm here and I might as well just get it done, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to have all this. So, I think just as a collective, people are either there at burnout or really, really close to it.
Right. Right. I think that that's very true. Where it's and it's funny because I think just like when we talk about like any other like mental health issues, if you think about depression, if you think about anything, people kind of have this extreme version of it that they see in their brain. And it's not always so extreme. So I looked up like symptoms of like a burnout. And a lot of it is just kind of like that feeling of just like overwhelm or feeling
Mm,
defeated or like, this is just, it's not going to get better.
yeah,
Even if you feel like the motivation that you used to have, you didn't, like, it's just like, I don't feel like doing this thing that I enjoyed, or I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything. I don't feel like I'm actually like getting anywhere. And so it's not necessarily, yes, it is fatigue. Yes, it is like your body's just like tired, all of that. But along with that, it's kind of like how you start to view the world a little bit
right.
is what burnout is. Is how you're going through your day and how you're viewing the things that are happening throughout the day impacts like you moving into an area of burnout. So
Yeah, it's
um,
kind of this state of just dread. Like,
yeah.
oh, I gotta do it all over again, and I don't have it in me. Like, I don't have it in me to do it again.
Yeah. And I think as
Mm.
therapists, like you said, part of it is the having to hold space um, at a time when, you're going through the same thing. So it's probably even heavier. Obviously it's
Mhm.
already can be, if you haven't learned how to kind of manage the energy that you get from people and all of that, to be going through the same thing. So they're telling you their story and you're kind of like, yeah, I understand. I'm feeling it too. And all of that. That's, it could be a lot harder. And then I even think about, um, the demand for mental health. Like I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
therapists we have transitioned online because of the pandemic, and probably was a little scared about that transition. And so as people are calling and needing the support, you may feel like you can't say no, right? You may feel like I need to be there for
Mhm.
them, and I'm not sure how long this is going to last, so I need to kind of take these clients to make sure I'm in a good space as well. So I definitely think that, those it impacts people for different reasons. But when it comes to therapists, I think we are in the helping field, like you said, even when it comes to like healthcare workers, but people in the helping field typically they do find themselves, a little burnt out because it feels like you're giving, 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 and not always getting anything in return. So
Absolutely.
go
And
ahead.
because I think people that are in these fields, I think by we're just kind of, I won't say naturally, but we tend to be givers. And so we struggle with receiving, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes we get in there, you want to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
We can't, well, we can't. And so it's difficult because you have this heart where you just want to help everybody and you feel bad about setting limits and setting boundaries, really to preserve your well-being.
Right, right. It doesn't feel like that, but that's really the reason why. So that moves right into like tips for if you may be experiencing burnout or if you want to try to prevent burnout, right? Because we're always in the space of like, how do we prevent this? Not waiting until it happens. And so the first
Hmm.
one is the setting boundaries and saying no. It may be if you are a therapist that you don't have to have 30 hours of clients or 40 hours of clients every week. I
No.
don't even know how y'all do.
And
There's some therapists that
there
truly,
are. Hmm.
I don't know how. I don't know how you're not burnt out after 2 weeks. Like I don't
I
understand.
cannot.
So
It's a
you
lot.
may have to like take a real hard look at like finances. What do you actually need? If you can take even if you are a person that's like, nope, I'm okay with saying 30 or 40, but maybe you have to um at week 4 be like, okay, but this week I'm only going to see 10, right? So it kind
Hmm.
of evens itself out. But also maybe you just need to limit the number of clients that you see and feel like you have good. I know a big part of that is like, well, I want to help. I want to help. Make sure you have good referrals. Have people that you can send.
Yeah. Yes.
Be able to say no. Be able to set limits when it comes to people, clients, work expectations. Like setting those boundaries is really important.
And we in the same spirit of like I want to help, it's what type of help can I really offer if I am burnt out?
Yep.
What kind of help can I give if I'm struggling? If I'm trying to get through the day, am I giving my best? So I love what you're saying, like have some strong referrals there because I think as givers and in this profession, but just givers in general, we have to work on the part of us that thinks we make the sun rise and the sunset and the moon rise. Like
Yep.
we have to work on that part of us because yes, we're here to do our part, but we're not here to do all the parts. And as important as our work is, we can't save the
Yep.
world, but
Yep.
what we really have to do is take care of ourselves so that whatever it is that we are doing, we're doing it like to the best of our ability.
Right. And that's truly I love that you said that because how you take care of yourself dictates how you can take care of other people. And so
Absolutely.
it's really important that you recognize who are you in the world when you're not taking care of yourself and who are you in the world when you are taking care of yourself and how and
Yes.
you probably have a very clear understanding of how you show up differently for other people.
Right.
So I think that's extremely important. So you were saying earlier, if you can't have a full day of rest or a week or whatever,
Yeah.
how do you
Okay.
deal with that?
See if you can have one day a month, right? You can't do a
Yeah.
day a month. I get it. Can you do half a day? I can't do half a day, Elisa. That I got too many things going on. I have a family. My husband's demanding these kids. These notes are not going to write themselves. My boss. All of the things. All right. Do you have an hour? Do you have 30 minutes? I mean, this really becomes a matter of prioritizing ourselves. Also,
Yep.
it becomes a matter of like, no, the time is not going to free itself up. You have to create the time.
Mhm.
The time is not just going to be like, all right, well, here it is. Like, no, because when you when you are the type of person that gets really close to burnout, then we have a tendency of when there is empty space, well, let's fill it up with some more stuff,
Yeah.
right? So take some of that time and say, for these 30 minutes, once a week or once a day or whatever, like that's just my time. That's my time where I am going to either I'm just going to rest, either I'm going to do something that's really enjoyable. Think of doing something that is going to be recharging your battery, just like you would your cell phone. How are you going to recharge?
Mhm.
How are you going to put back into yourself? But you have to make it happen. It's
Right.
not just going to like happen on its own.
And you may have to schedule it in your day, right?
Right.
I have become, I talked about this, I think at the end of last year, we talked about like takeaways from last year. I have become a big proponent of like just rest and chill and just like, you don't always have to be going, which is not what I was doing before. I always felt like I would need to be moving. But what I would realize is when you are on the verge of burnout or when you are overwhelmed, you feel like you need to keep going, but you really aren't as efficient. And sometimes your brain isn't even allowing you to do it, where something that might take you 15 minutes might take you an hour or hour and a half. So if you just took 15 to 20 minutes, you're just like, I'm just going to rest. I'm going to relax. I'm going to do something that's like mind numbing, or I'm going to get into my body and kind of relax, whatever you need, to do to kind of like relieve some of that stress. I'm going to go for a walk. If you take that time to do it, then you'd be surprised how quickly you get those tasks done. Because a lot of times, and obviously I'm not speaking for everyone, but oftentimes we hear people say, I don't have time. And then when we talk about what they do within their day, it is a lot of like transitioning because they're having a hard time kind of going from one thing to the next. Or, yeah, I was sitting there and I was, trying to think of what I needed to do. Like I knew I had 20 things to do, but I couldn't get myself to get up and do it. Like all of that is like, okay, well, why don't we just build in the time for rest? Or if that happens, honor that part of you, right? Honor the part of you that's like, I cannot focus right now. I just need 10 minutes. Give that part 10 minutes. And then go into what you need to do. I think sometimes there's this fear of like, if we don't do it right now, it won't get done. But if you do it now and it takes you 45 minutes, then it's still, you could have done what you did to do for yourself and still got it done.
I think we also have a fear that we would find out that we're not as needed as we think we
are. That's true.
That's true. I think there's a fear of that too, is that we hype ourselves up to like, and you are so needed. I'm not
You're
saying
valued. Yes.
You are valued, you are worthy, all of those things. But I think we often can fall into that it's like, what if people don't need me as much as I think, or that I've set it up to be? What would happen if people got to figure it out on their own? You know what? After a while, people got to figure it out on their own. Like they'll figure it out. And sometimes it's difficult for us to think like not being needed in that way.
Yeah. And recognizing that I think about like more control issues, recognizing that if it's not done that day, the way you've done it 364 days, it probably is going to be okay. Like it doesn't have to look exactly the same. And actually having those times when it doesn't look so like, we have to do this at this time and do all of that, like it's probably helpful to learn like flexibility or, things like that. So it doesn't have to be done a specific way either. So letting go of some of that control as well. And everything's not going to fall apart if you take a day. And again, I always think about when people get sick, like when you get sick, and there's a lot of moms out there that are sick and still taking care of kids and doing other kind of stuff. But sometimes you have to just lay there and everything doesn't completely fall apart. Things may be delayed.
And
sorry, go ahead. That's all.
No. Yeah. I think the other part too is that we have to really be aware is that sometimes some of us don't give ourselves permission to rest until we burn out.
Yep.
Until our bodies like completely collapse. And then, okay, now I have an excuse, it's out of my hands. Like I'm sick, or, I've really like reached the end of my rope. And now that's the only way we give ourselves permission to rest. And that's more work that we got to do. But we really want to be able to look at these different vulnerabilities that we have, that again, we can only do that for so long without it taking a long-term effect, without it having a long-term effect on our lives.
Yeah. And you want to be able to have someone to help you, right? And be accountable so that they can kind of say like, hey, I'm seeing these things, or I noticed that you seem a little overwhelmed, or I noticed that you haven't been as interested in like the things that you used to love, or I feel like you're taking a lot longer to get stuff done. Like someone that's an accountability partner and can kind of hold the mirror up before you get to that space. And that could be a therapist, that could be a friend, family, spouse, just someone that can say like, hey, I see this happening. And maybe even take the initiative, because I know sometimes that's a thing as well. Like someone that you can kind of just say like, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's go spend a day at the beach and just kind of hang out by the water. having people in your life and being clear about what you need as far as them being your accountability partner.
Yeah, let them know. Say, look, I have been doing too much. Sometimes I don't know when I'm doing too much. So I want you to point it out to me. Like, tell me, hey, you just told me about this big, huge project you have. You volunteered for this other thing. You got a week's worth of projects that you're doing, and now you're saying you're gonna invite your mother-in-law to stay with you your whole week.
Right. That doesn't sound like a good idea at all.
Like, are you
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
look, are you doing a little bit too much here? So
Mhm.
yeah, have a burnout accountability partner, someone who is gonna be willing to call you out.
Yes. And if you need someone, because some people are like, I just need someone to do it for me or to help me, like make sure they know that. Like if they need to say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna come over and cook for you today, or I'm gonna come over and pick you up and take you here. Like if you know you need someone that's gonna do it because you're gonna fight it the whole way. So they just have to make the plan. Let them know
Mhm.
ahead of time when you're not there. So then when they start seeing the sign, they can be like, okay, come on, we're leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think I need to hear you say that. I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna cook you dinner.
I've done that. Well, it's kind of like an exchange. It's a quid pro quo. Like they help me with something, so I'm like, oh, I'll cook dinner while I'm here. So
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, that's a good
you
one.
like that one? You want me to come cook for the family? um,
All right.
the last tip is just making small changes. It doesn't have to be anything huge. We know that small incremental changes end up being huge changes over the long run. So again, kind of all of these things that we're saying, like taking it step by step. It doesn't need to be a week off, like Lisa said. Like if it's 30 minutes, if it's I'm between clients, I close my eyes if I have time. Hopefully, I don't run over my sessions. But if I do have time, I will close my eyes for like 3 minutes. And if I need to set an alarm to make sure I don't go to sleep, I do that. But it's just a way for me to, one, I'm looking at a screen all day, right? And so that ends up being a lot of strain on my eyes. Typically, I don't wear glasses, they're prescription, but I don't wear them a lot. And so sometimes I have a little strain, I have like a small headache. So it's a way for me to just kind of close my eyes and rest my eyes for a little bit. So again, even if you can't do 30 minutes, like can you sit on the toilet for 5 minutes and close your eyes while the kids are banging on the door and just breathe? Finding ways to kind of like these small changes. If you need to like move where you work to a different part of the house, or if you need to put something pretty on the wall so you can see something that's inspirational, like tiny changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I am hopeful that you all are going to implement some of these tips that we have for you today. We do not want you to burn out. We don't want to burn out. So Ebony's going to come over tonight and bring me dinner as
Yes, I will drive so far. So far. I'll just order dinner. That sounds way better. Order
there
some
you go.
DoorDash, some Uber Eats, and have it delivered to your door. Yeah, so hopefully
All
this
right,
helps.
folks.
We will talk to
Yeah.
y'all next week. Make sure you subscribe, rate, comment, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all those places. If you're looking for dope merchandise, go to melaninandmentalhealth.com and check out our merchandise, as well as look for a therapist of color, and also listen to old episodes. And follow us across social media, Melanin and Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter. Okay. All right. That's the sign off. I'll talk to y'all
All
next
right.
week. Bye.